After the commercial success of the first two Resident Evil games, Capcom was looking to their rising star director to help develop their next big title. In July of '99, Dino Crisis enters the stage. Developed for the original PlayStation console, Dino Crisis was the successor to the survival horror series directed by Shinji Mikami. Ultimately, Mikami wanted to swap the shambling brainless ghouls for clever, sonic-fast, leaping lizards that could kill in just one bite. After its release, Dino Crisis was a smash hit of that summer and became one of the PlayStation's most popular games, selling 2.4 million copies worldwide. With that being said, I'd like to take a deep dive in this alien-inspired game to see if it still holds up to modern standards 24 years later.
You have mail.
Dropped into a mysterious lab in the middle of a remote jungle island, you play as Regina. Fiery redhead just wants to get through her very first super duper secret mission without cashing in too early. Accompanied by your federal government operator pals, you're on the hunt for a supposed dead man leading an illegal weapons research project. Just like any other mad science experiment, everything went to hell, so now you and the Planeteers have to pick up the pieces trying to figure out what happened. The story is about as intricate as a plot to a 70s porno, but it's just enough to thrust your interest along to reach the next save point. Surprisingly, for how sci-fi the setting is, there's very limited exposition. Each of the plot points are brief and delivered with B+ anime voice acting. Listen folks, this isn't Casablanca, but the dialogue isn't so bad it's laughable, and in the end serves a creepy atmosphere. Right off the bat, the game wants you to suspend your disbelief so that you can immerse yourself into the Jurassic horror fiction. Hell, after a while, you might even start to relate to Regina's plight before the end of the game. That all being said, if you're looking for spooky journal entries discussing how the main researcher founded a mega pharmaceutical company by performing sick experiments on families through the decades, you're going to be very disappointed. I mean, come on, there's practically zero lore and presents a straightforward narrative with almost no hidden documents, notes, or letters. So creating your own fanfic OC within this world is pretty much off the table. To make it off this island, and to your next Tyrannosaur attack, you have to either sacrifice ammo or your health. If you're feeling extra spicy, you can bravely run away from each situation, stocking up on shotgun shells and health kits. This might work for a while, however, if you don't become acclimated to the awkward tank style of moving Regina, making a break for it may become tougher and present ample opportunity for a velociraptor to have a tiny nibble on your tushy. Each room is built as its own little challenge, testing the player around this basic philosophy. Scarper to the exit while taking a few hits or fight. To keep things fresh, the game will toss a variety of dinos at you, put you into a tight spot, or surprise you with enemies that will chase you into other rooms. To break up the heart-pounding excitement, you're given several puzzles to solve or empty corridors to explore. While the puzzles may not be so obtuse that you'll have to pull up a guide to figure them out, they do come off at best boring and at worst tedious. That being said, my favorite parts of the game come right after you made it past some prehistoric jerk-offs, take a short breather, and get a chance to soak up your surroundings. These little moments of respite are few and far between, but it does solidify the eerie elements and adds a constant level of tension through the game. Dino Crisis features an early implementation of everyone's favorite thing, QuickTime events. Once you just let your guard down for a second, BAM! Mash the keys for God's sake. Sometimes the jump scares take more damage from you, other times it's a one-hit kill. They aren't bad per se, just rudimentary. Not like QTEs are awesome to begin with, it's just that in this game, they're much more insufferable considering that it influences how effective you are at dodging other hungry dinos. The other gimmick the game adds to its recipe is mixing chemicals together to formulate darts to knock out monsters for a certain amount of time, or to help craft healing items. It's a nice touch. You move along at a steady pace so that you feel like you're not taking so many risks while reducing how punishing dying can be in the genre. With the added bonus of revival kits, you definitely become less reliant on saving your progress, and it gave the chance for the designers to have more imposing critters and a larger variety of levels. It does deflate the overall pressure a tad, but there will be times where you'll shout, "Oh crap!" while trying to frantically rush to the nearest load screen. At the end of the day, the game keeps you in the action without too much useless fluff. You can now carry an unlimited amount of keys, so you're not tied to an item chest that you'll have to backtrack to. Likewise, the designers linked all the rooms together, so you're not constantly trying to find your bearings. Whenever I was like, where the heck am I supposed to go next? I found out maybe, just maybe, the way forward was through a door I haven't discovered yet, or miraculously remembering there's a clearly laid out map in the menu. It seems like every aspect of Dino Crisis is tightly manufactured around its core mechanics, and successfully challenges you with its evolution in the survival horror genre. My suggestion in best optimizing your runs is to stick to the corners and hoard as much ammo and health as you can. In the early game, you'll be able to bob and weave out of most attacks. Because the build up to each attack is so exaggeratedly telegraphed, you'll be able to get out of a good chunk of sticky situations without having to kill anything or use your healing kits. There will be times when you realize you can't just duck out of a situation without blasting some scaly goons with your state-of-the-art bang bang. This is usually at the later half of the game, but with your hefty stash of darts and meds, you won't struggle too hard clearing the main thoroughfares. It'll take time to get used to the controls, but with some training, you'll start to navigate through the stage like it was your own home. Just to get some extra practice in, I tend to move around empty, complicated rooms while making my way to the next objective. I never felt like I truly became a master of Regina's footing, but after a while, I started to dance in and out of raptor slashes with a great deal of efficiency. Last but not least, I was banging my head against the wall trying to solve the ridiculously convoluted puzzles. However, once I figured out my greatest enemy was my own brain, I slowed down and stopped overthinking the solutions. Completing each DDK sequence and battery charging became a cinch. Dino Crisis has about 10 hours worth of gameplay, which is enough to give you a solid experience without being so difficult it leaves you wanting something more fun to play. Capcom was able to produce an enjoyable survival horror game that makes you feel outnumbered and isolated without bogging you down with archaic concepts and half-baked ideas. Once you mastered your shucking and jiving skills, you'll find yourself appreciating how well the game has aged after all these years. I think it says a lot when remaking Resident Evil 2, Capcom, for the most part, changed next to nothing about its game mechanics from the original 1998 release. Switching to an over-the-shoulder perspective and refining some of the layout of the Raccoon City PD were a couple of the most notable changes from the first iteration of the game. Not only did that game stand the test of time, but the dodge, shoot, or sacrifice health to make it out alive core philosophy is what made the RE2 remake a standout entry to the genre. In my opinion, time is the true proof of a solid concept and is the best way to test every aspect of an overall design. In the last 25 years, this series of survival horror games is still as enthralling and frightening as it was the first time I experienced Dino Crisis all these years later.